You are about to hear a horrific account of the only surviving member of a brutal home invasion. Listen to this.
Now one, I think two people were dead. Someone broke into a house. One was white and the other one, I don't know if he was Hispanic. This boy...
This DC that you're about to be introduced to now for the first time through this channel, Dumb Criminal. This DC has movies, major motion picture movies made about them, trying to depict this type of DC. The only time I think that a movie came close to depicting it was this movie. And if you haven't seen it, well, you should. That is, if you want to have a rough enough depiction, as by this channel, of what a succubus is. But right now, and in this episode of Dumb Criminal, ladies and gentlemen, DC Subbies, let me introduce you to DC Succubus. And its name is... Now I'll explain what the mindset makeup is of a DC Succubus. The DC Succubus has a mindset sort of like a serial killer. You see, it doesn't have a conscience. And without a conscience, it also doesn't have empathy at all. Many DC Succubuses have sadistic traits and qualities, especially towards the crimes in which they commit and their victims. Now, that's about it in comparison to, say, serial killers, because it's actually the opposite of a serial killer in the way in which it acts within the environment. And what I mean by that is a serial killer's hunting grounds are outside of its home. Everyone is a potential victim. Everyone outside of their whanau is a potential vic. The succubus, the DC Succubus, operates the opposite of that. The succubus will infect and then kill the whanau and members of the whanau only. So its potential victims are anyone in the family, in the whanau. A succubus finds its victims by hunting for good people that are usually lonely and that have a lot of money or saving. Usually come from whanaus, usually come from families of which are good, caring, decent people. Once the DC Succubus has infected her host, the succubus will then attack the other members of the whanau, causing such disruptions, creating it so that the whanau decays from within. That's the type of DC Succubus that these people are. And now let's get into that backstory. This DC Succubus committed her crime in a place called Torbay City, and that's located in South Carolina, and that's from the good old US of A. The host victim, the primary victim of who the succubus latched onto, was this guy. His name is Amos Hatfield. And he come from a really, really nice family down there in South Carolina. Amos was the perfect victim for the succubus because married and his wife passed away, so he was by himself, he was lonely, he was old, he had money. And the best thing for the succubus is that he was alone, he was away from his family, which is what the succubus needs. So then it's able to mimic what it is that the lonely person, lonely vic wants. And the more time the succubus has with their host victim, the more the host victim falls in love with them. And that is exactly what happened to our boy Amos. So roughly at the date of somewhere in 2010, she started doing her thing with Amos, tracking up with him and getting him to fall in love with her. And that is exactly what happened. And it wasn't until she was completely in with Amos that Amos then introduced her to the rest of his whanau at a gathering he had. Because remember, he is the patriarch of the family. Here in New Zealand, here in Aotearoa, I call that person, the patriarch, I call him a kaumatua. That's what I call him in my country. And now you know what I mean if I say that word. Anyways, back to it. So our succubus shacked up with Amos, was introduced to a family, and that's where she caught up with this guy called Tommy. Tommy Hatfield, son of Amos, one of those members of that good family, the Hatfields. Now, apparently, Tommy didn't like her right off the bat. And by looking at her, I'd probably be the same way, really. Because she looks like a dirty cleaner. I reckon she does, eh? Anyways, back to the story. Back to our DC Succubus. So from about 2010 through to 2011, our succubus drained our poor Amos dry of all his cash. He spent all of his money, all of his savings, all that kind of stuff to buy our succubus a brand new house and car and all the other stuff, like drained him. You see, Amos completely believed what the succubus was telling him, that they were going to be together forever and that she loved him like he loved her. That's the succubus way. And of course, that is all part of our DC's J for Genius plan. And in 2011, in her genius plan, she even got Amos to marry her. So now she's legal to take and keep pretty much everything, the house, the cars, the cash, everything. It's all part of that plan. And finally, what she's going to do is she's going to take out a massive life insurance on Amos. And somewhere an Irishman does a jig. And then, according to our succubus's J4, then she's going to have Amos, good old Amos, murdered. And she's going to get away with it. And not just it, but she's going to get away with everything else, the house, the cars, the jewelry, all that stuff. It's all part of her genius plan. So what does her genius plan say about killing Amos? Well, this is it. She's going to get two dudes to help her. She's going to offer them a whole bunch of cash to come over to Amos's house one night on a certain night. And that night would be when Tommy was over visiting, because he hardly ever visited because, she's a bitch. So our DC Succubus was going to get these two guys to come over and shoot both Tommy and Amos. And then what she was going to do, she was going to go down to the police station afterwards and then sell it to the cops that this murder, this motive for this murder was something to do with Tommy and something to do with these bad guys that were after Tommy. And that's how she was going to get away with it, because it sounds kind of reasonable. It is a plan that is too easy to fail. It is a J for Genius plan. An idiot could have gotten away with this. But she's not an idiot. No, she's not an idiot at all. She's a DC. Remember, she's a DC succubus. She has an episode on this channel, so you know she's got to be dumb. Real dumb. So now you know the J4 plan that she's just put into action. Now you know the deviousness and the callousness of our DC succubus. So where are we right now? Well, right now, we're in the cop shop. We're in the cop shop and our succubus, has just been brought in for questioning. This is straight after the crime has been committed. Now, right now, the cops have absolutely no reason to believe that she is anything but a survivor in a horrific crime. So now let's go watch our succubus sell her story to these cops. Let's go listen to story number 1.
And he said, "You want some ice cream, baby?" So me and him got up to go into the kitchen. And all of a sudden, the side door, the back door just kicked open. And there was these two dudes standing there. And they were big. And they was like, "Get on the ground, get on the ground."
And now at this stage, she introduces Tommy.
"Get on the ground, we got you, Tommy, we got you now." And then I seen the guy hit Amos in the back of the head with a rifle or something. And went. And I just closed my eyes.
Oh, I just wanted to say that the succubus's voice gives me the shits. Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
And they was beating Tommy, and I was like, stop. And he was like, "I got something for you." And he flipped me over in the middle of the floor, and he right there. And Amos saw it all. He grabbed me by my hair, and he pulled me down the hallway. And then I heard a gunshot, and then I heard another one, and then the other dude was me again. I don't remember nothing. I just blanked out.
So she just blacked out. The succubus just blacked out. And that's her story 1. That's what she says to the cops. And it kind of does sound believable. So now what happens is the cops hit her up and they try to figure out, how did these bad guys know where Tommy was? And it just so happens, coincidentally, that our DC succubus knows. She says that she bumped into two bad sombreros while she was getting gas, and they were looking for Tommy.
For a second, what store was it?
It was the store over by Hardee's, right in front of Bojangles and Hardee's.
Sunoco, Bojangles, and Hardee's over in Lower City? Okay. About what time before you got there?
Just before I got there, it was about 1:45.
But 10:45?
Yeah, I was going to get gas.
Okay.
There were two guys at the store, and they was looking for Tommy.
Now pay attention here, because our supreme idiot starts to get things wrong.
What these two guys look like?
One of them was white.
Yeah, one was light skinned.
Light skin.
Yeah.
He wasn't dark, though.
While it's still fresh in your mind, I want you to describe and start the white guy first.
He was taller than me. He had to be a little 5'9", 5'6". He was a little muscular built. He had short hair. The black guy didn't even talk to me. It was the white guy that was Torbay. And I left. And I went on to Amos's house. And it had to be about 15, 20 minutes later. That's when they came through the door.
They followed you. You're a victim here. They followed you. It's not your fault.
Remembering what you were going to say, that the bad guys look like, and forgetting that is bad. So anyways, our DC carries on with the story one, and now she starts pointing the bony finger at Tommy.
Tommy spoiled. He was on drugs really, really bad. And there was some big time drug dealers around that area. And they were after Tommy.
Why was you afraid of the drug dealers?
Because he owed them money. He is a big time down in the projects getting in trouble with those guys a lot. And that was not the first time that they've been to Amos's house about Tommy. His sister can vouch for that. She knows me well. We get along very well. Get on the phone and call Sylvia and ask Sylvia about Tommy. Amos had to call the police a couple of times to get him out of the house.
Yep, she really tries to hammer down that motive and even pull forward Whanau members to back up her story number one. So far, so good for DC Succubus. But alas, that could only last for so long. Now, our cop's going to ask our DC Succubus once again to describe the bad guys. Now, before she does that, let's take a look at her J for Genius plan and what she's already said.
One was white and the other one, I don't know if he was Hispanic.
What these two guys look like?
One of them was
Bitch.
white.
Yeah.
The black guy didn't even talk to me. It was the white guy that was Torbay.
And now let's watch story one go to shit.
Let's talk about the white dude, the guy you referred to as the white dude. Let's start with him.
Him. Now, he was the one who first me.
Okay.
And he hit Amos in the back of the head.
The black guy or the white guy?
The black guy was a big guy. And he had some dreads on him, got two shoulders.
A big guy with dreads.
And the other black guy, he was black. I know he was black.
Oh my God, I told you she was a DC. How simple would it have been just to remember that, what the two dudes look like. Oh my God, and it just gets better.
Okay, well, this is all different than you were telling me before. Okay, so you saw these two guys are black.
So old Succubus goes back to doing what she does best, and that's mimicking the victim, because the cops still believe that she is. But, oh no, things are about to change, because maybe the J for Genius plan wasn't that good.
What happened here is you told them the gas station next to Hardee's. And we went to that gas station next to Hardee's. And we watched the surveillance. And you didn't do this.
Oh my God, she's a genius. But wait, it gets better. Remember this?
Just before I got there, it's about 1:45.
But 10:45?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Well, the old cops rung up the gas station, and guess what?
Guess what? The gas station closed.
Oh, DC, fuck, you're an idiot. What imbecile wouldn't have checked when the gas station closed? And right now, old Succubus is thinking, well, this isn't part of the plan. But wait, because it gets even better. Because we're about to find out what the origin question is. And oh God, DC.
We recognize the phone number 910. Would there be some reason missing a tax report to that photo?
And now, DC Subbies, the origin question.
Do you remember what those text messages said at 2:39 a.m.? When they got to the house, when they first tried to come in, they texted you and said, it's locked. There's no other reason for you to write. The back door is open, unless you open the door if you try to come in to somebody.
I think it is quite amazing, almost unbelievable, how many DCs don't watch true crime. It's just unbelievable. What kind of a muppet is going to think, oh no, the cops aren't going to read my text. Nah, they'd never do that. She puts the J in genius.
You lie from the beginning.
Because I don't swear.
The truth.
I'm telling you the truth. Say I'm a good person. person.
No, you're not. No.
Yes,
No,
I
you're
am.
not. No, you're not. No, you are. You're a cold-blooded. You set up your buddy to get murdered. That's what you did. Yeah. Honestly, that's what it is. There's no way around it.
So now they know that story 1 is a crock of shit. So our DC Succubus, what this genius does is it now comes out with story number 2. And in her story number 2, in the Succubus' story number 2, she actually fingers the other 2 Muppets that went along with the Succubus on this J4 plan. The Succubus actually thinks that story number 2's a goer, honestly. Because now she blames it all on Amos. It's pure gold. Listen to this.
Amos was just scared, so he asked me to set something up so that just to scare the people from buying drugs. But it got completely out of hand. That was not supposed to go down like that. But they took it to another level. He was just supposed to come in there and scare the shit out of Tom and leave. That was it. I swear to God.
Oh, it was such a big misunderstanding. That's all it was. God damn, Amos. Anyways, now Succubus throws the Muppets under the bus.
I don't know him. I know James because he cut my grass.
So now the cops go hunt down James and have a chat to James. And he names off another guy that was with him called Awesome, the third Muppet in these Muppeteers. So they grab the Muppet who cuts the grass and ask him for his story number 1. And his story number 1, well, it's not quite the same as Succubus' story number 2. This is how it goes.
So I was like, well, it all sounds good. What are you talking about? She was like, oh, well, I got these people that I need for somebody to hit. I said, what you mean, need for somebody to hit? She said, need somebody to take them out.
So the idiot Nehemiah, what he does is he goes, look, don't believe me, man? Go check out the other guy that was there with me, this guy called Odin. So the cops go, cool, and they track down Odin, old Muppet number 3, and they hit him up about his story number 1. And his story number 1 explains that there was no mistake. There was absolutely no mistake in what happened in the house that night, because listen to what this Muppet says.
So, went to the back door, turned the back door knob, Evans went in, I went in. The older dude was right in the kitchen with her. I guess that was her husband. Tommy was scared to death already. So it's nothing else to do. We did what you asked us to do, you feel me? Okay, boom, so I'm searching the house, see if anybody else in there. At the time, I heard that first gunshot, it said, pow! That had to be the son, because before I can make it around that corner to the kitchen, like, that's where the second gunshot came from. I ain't pulling no more trigger. That's straight up. I ain't killing no. But
Did Sandy do it?
she killed both of them people. Cold blood. Took trigger man Sandy up with no remorse. So
Did you see Sandy with the gun in her hand?
that's right. I can actually say I know Nehemiah James ain't killed nobody. And I can actually say I know for a fact Cindy Locklear was the trigger man.
Boom! So now our Succubus is done, and the 5-0 now know that in their little interrogation room they have a DC Succubus. And I must say that in all of true crime, and there's obviously a lot of it, there are very few times that are so satisfying as when you see a Succubus finally realize that they have no more power, that they are done. This next bit is just bliss.
Goodbye.
Please listen to me. Wait a minute.
Put your hand behind your back.
Wait a minute, sir.
Behind your back. Good pick of a team.
No, I'm
Good
listening.
luck.
No, sir. No. Oh my God, this is not happening.
Oh yeah, it is, and we get to see it. So, how did it all end up for our DC Succubus and her 2 friendly Muppets? Well, it went a little something like you'd probably expect it to with the DC. Yeah, she defended it, of course, because, you know, it wasn't her. Anyway, she was found guilty of murder twice and given 2 life sentences. Muppet number 1, he was a little bit older than the other Muppet, so he got 2 life sentences as well, where the younger Muppet, he got 30 years. And none of that was apparently part of her J4 fucking plan. But we are definitely glad of happy endings to such really bad times. Now, so what can we take away from this episode in introducing the DC Subbies to the DC Succubus? And if we are to think of something, I think it should be this. you usually only get one whānau. Like, you usually only ever get one family. And they're yours. Love them or hate them, they are your whānau. And we are exceedingly lucky as human beings that most people are really quite fond of theirs. And as such, you should have the ultimate respect for your family. You should have the ultimate respect for your whānau. And you should always make sure that you never take any chances on them. And I mean any chances. That if you're going to ever introduce anyone to your family, if you're going to introduce anyone to your whānau, no matter who they are to you, that you have to make sure that they are worthy of that introduction and just never falter that line, ever. And you should be sweet. Anyway, that's the lesson I'd take away from it. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of DC and the introduction of the Succubus. If you did, could you please leave us a like? And if you've made it this far and you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do. And to everybody else, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next week in the next episode. Stay safe, especially my DC Subbies. Okay, stay safe, guys.